When the time comes for you to now productize your knowledge or your skill set, you already have the customer base or the client base ready because you've been serving them over the years. They will be looking for ways to give back to you. So at that point in time, it becomes a joy for them to patronize any product or service that you offer. Okay. In this episode, we're going to be discovering 4 key pathways towards building financial freedom and personal development. Let's dive in. I believe it's everybody's desire to one day become financially free and also to build a treasure trove of self or personal development. That's the essence of this video or this episode. So let's dive in straight away. So the first one would be to create what I call an expert body of knowledge, or specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge means you have applied yourself to a particular field of study. It may not be just academic study, but it could be a natural talent that has been developed over the years and refined. It's developed and refined to a point that it makes you cutting edge or number one in that category. So let's pick an example. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah is a popular. I mean, she's one of the wealthiest persons on earth, wealthiest woman, wealthiest human being on earth, and she started her career, her pathway to financial freedom because she had expert skill in the area of asking questions. She developed that skill so much so that when you watch Oprah's interviews is very captivating, and she's been able to build a whole empire around the core skill of being able to interview. We could argue all day long. She probably didn't gain that skill particularly because she did a particular course at university or college or through any academic channel. But you could see that it was a natural talent, God-given talent, that she had. It was a gift, but that gift was harnessed. That gift was developed to a point that it was cutting edge. So let's, for everyday lives or everyday or average person, if you let's say the best, you become the best, let's say a heart surgeon, the best auto mechanic, the best even barber, the best screenwriter, the best storyteller, the best music writer or music editor. If you apply yourself to become cutting edge in your field, you prep yourself or you tee yourself up for the world to get to know you. And that is a major channel of building financial wealth or financial freedom. Having an expert body of knowledge. So that's one pathway, just as Oprah did. And these 4 pathways that I'm going to share, they are kind of interrelated. Some of them, you can run with one of them to get to a point of financial freedom, but most of the time they work best when they are interlinked or when they all come together in kind of a confluence. Then the magic happens, right? So if you're listening and you have checked maybe 2 boxes or 2 of the 4 boxes as far as the pathways that I'm sharing with you, it may mean that you may have to work a little bit more on the other 2 to get the full benefit of what I'm talking about. So the first one is having an expert body of knowledge or expert. It could be technical skills, artistic skills, but it has to be expert level. It can't be average. It must be top notch, top class for the world to pay attention to that skills. Then the next step is going to be to productize yourself or your knowledge. Productize yourself or your knowledge. In this, modern day computer age, it's very, very essential that we adapt and change. We adapt our skills and our technologies to a point whereby we're able to productize it. And when I say productize yourself or your knowledge, it literally means transforming the skill set you have, transforming the skills and the knowledge you have into a business, transforming the skill you have into a business. I don't know if you heard of the term solopreneur. They are solopreneurs. That means a sole person running a business, right? And the sole person running a business, that literally, they don't have any employee. The only reason they are in business is they are using their brain, they're using their skill set, and they productize their skill and themselves, their brand, into a viable business. I know a couple of solopreneurs that make over $1 million a year. And it's amazing how some of them have set up themselves and their businesses to be extremely not only profitable, but also impactful. And at the same time, having only themselves as they are employees. They don't have any other employee. They are themselves, solopreneurs, right? So the ability to productize yourself means the ability to turn, let's say, your body of knowledge into, let's say, a book, into a course, a mastermind, a seminar, or combinations of that, even podcasts, right? So we have guys like Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss is an author, he's a writer. He wrote The 4 Hour Work Week and many other books. But his podcast is one of the biggest podcasts in the world, right? Another one is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is, I think he's an ultra conservative guy, but I do my hat off to him because he, I think, in the podcast world, has been able to build the biggest podcast audience in the world. I think he sold it recently. I think to Spotify, if I'm not mistaken. He sold it for I think a couple of $100 million for just a podcast. This is a guy who could literally, his skill was to gain the attention of people. He's able to talk to people so that it not only permeates through it doesn't talk just to your brain, but he appeals to your heart. So a lot of people listen to Joe Rogan. Not everything that he says is right though, but he has built a massive audience using just a podcast. And that podcast has risen up to become the #1 podcast in the world. The same with Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss' podcast is probably the top 1 to 3 or top 1 to 5. And he's been able to productize his knowledge into a business. And now Tim Ferriss' business is huge. Is massive. So, after you've been able to, so the first one is to become an expert in your field. It doesn't have to be, you have to go back into academics. It just have to be, you have a natural skill, natural talent that you need to spend time develop it so that you are no longer average. Then after that, find ways and means by which you can turn that body of skill, body of knowledge into a business. It could be that you have the ability to cook very well. It could be that it's not just cooking, but you know how to cook a specific type of food or a specific type of staple that makes you the best, right? Great. The third pathway or the third point, as I would talk about, is to leverage distribution. Leverage distribution. Most of the time, I would even put leveraging distribution as the second point. But for explanation's sake, let me put it this way. So distribution has to do with today, there are so many channels to distribute or expose our business or expose our talent. In this case, I've said productizing your talent. So in terms of distribution, there are abundant pathways to publicize or let the work of your hands or the work of your brain or the work of your heart, whatever it is, whatever skill, talent that you have, that you've developed, to get into mainstream. There's a little bit of caveat though. Unless you have unlimited resources, unlimited wealth, there's going to be just one channel for leveraging distribution. Distribution literally means, to me, literally means building an audience, possibly across platforms. Building an audience is not a one-day job. It's not an overnight job. It takes time. So I would recommend that as you build your skill and your skill level gets to a point that your skill level is great, or, not the greatest, but as your skill level is developing, you also simultaneously must be building an audience base, right? And how do you build a solid audience base? You have to choose a distribution path or a distribution channel that suits you. Okay, you don't have to stretch yourself so thin if you don't have the resources to do that yet. But if it's YouTube that resonates with you very well, then you do YouTube, right? If it is Instagram that resonates with you and the type of audience that you seek to serve, and I want to use the term seek to serve, you're doing this to serve humanity, then you stick to it and begin to build your audience. For instance, I love LinkedIn because that is where my audience literally are. I love YouTube. That is a place that I enjoy doing these videos. I really enjoy doing them because it ignites my spirit. It gets my creative juices and my passion up. So I enjoy doing it. So to me, this is not even work. I do my business, and then anytime I feel a little bit bored, I record, right, just to encourage somebody, to lift somebody up. So you have to look at the various channels. If it's TikTok that your audience are, begin to build your audience there. Begin to build. For some people, they can't do video. They can't do they can't do audio, right? If I would say if it's audio that suits you, some people are camera shy. If it's audio that suits you, think about podcasts. Start a podcast. And then for other people to audio will not work, video will not work. It's just text that would work. So maybe think about creating a Twitter account and then using Twitter to grow an audience. Another way is to just write a blog, right? You write a blog or a newsletter that goes out, and then you create a weekly or a bi-weekly newsletter that goes out to your target audience, and you begin to build your email list. I know people who build their email list. They have in excess of 1 million, email lists. And I mean, email list is a whole different ballgame. That if I were to go into that, it would take forever. It's an amazing channel to build an audience. So I'm just cataloging that. So if you are into video, look at YouTube or TikTok, right? If you like writing, Twitter is really good. Twitter is good. LinkedIn is good. And they just launched, the Meta just launched a new platform called, I think, Thread. You could look into that as well. And if you're into audio podcasts, right? And so you use that and you begin to build your audience. You begin to build your audience. Why do I say that? Oprah became Oprah because she had built a massive audience and a massive following. Massive audience, massive following. What happens is that when you are giving, right? As I'm doing, what I'm doing is I'm giving. There's no cost to this. I'm giving. I'm giving what God has given me in terms of my mental ability, my acumen, my gifting, my talent. The ability to speak to people in all humility, in wisdom, in godly wisdom and counsel. So it's giving. As you begin to give, there's something we call the law of reciprocity. Anytime you give something that touches people's hearts, people feel indebted to you in a way. They may feel indebted to you, but they may not have the means to pay you back monetarily. Maybe not anytime soon. But because they still feel indebted to you, they will find ways and means. That's how God created this world. You find ways and means by which at some point in time, they will also would want to serve you back. That's how it is. That's why selfish people don't go anywhere, right? You give and it comes back to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, right? And you begin to, it begin to, skyrocket, in terms of, let me use a slow term. It begin to snowball and snowball into an avalanche, right? That is how it is. So you build you leverage distribution by creating or building a massive audience, and you start small. You start small, but you remain consistent. I know it's challenging. I've been there, so it's challenging, but that is the only key: consistency. You are consistent. If you're starting and you don't have the resources, don't spread yourself across all channels. It's tempting to do that, but unless you are you have a lot of resources in terms of you have staff and you have money to do that, you have to build this organically and build it and build it and build it, and you realize that over a period of time you would have built a massive audience. And therefore, when the time comes for you to now productize your knowledge or your skill set, you already have the customer base or the client base ready, because you've been serving them over the years. They will be looking for ways to give back to you. So at that point in time, it becomes a joy for them to patronize any product or service that you offer. Okay, so that is point number 3. And the final point is you have to tap into diverse, for you to be able to create a pathway of financial freedom. One of the key pillars, and this is a key pillar, is to tap into diverse ownership opportunities. Okay, this could be a standalone point, right? This could be a standalone. And when I say ownership opportunity, it means whatever business you are running, make sure you own at least the full business or at least part of the business. Okay, make whatever you could, whatever talent that you've been able to productize, whatever skill, whatever brand that you've been able to turn into a business or productize, make sure that that business belongs to you. Or at a minimum, you own part of that business. The reason why I say make sure you own at least part of the business is that sometimes you may be developing what you're developing, and then you would have somebody who will come in, maybe a sponsor or partner or investor who would want to back you up. So in that case, you have to let go of some of your equity, or some part of the world they call it shareholding. So you will not own 100%, but you own something, right? You own something, and make sure that you own a part of your business. You own a part of your business. It's not that you're just going to do it and somebody owns that business. That is why sometimes when you work yes, using your skill to work for a company, yes, you are using your skill, you are making money, but you don't own any of the business. That is not a pathway to creating wealth. The pathway to creating wealth is owning at least a piece of the business that you are helping to create, right? Not only that, if you work for somebody, it's great, but you build wealth when, let's say, the company that you work for gives you opportunity for stock options. So you have a little piece of that giant company as a stock option, that you work for the company over a period of time. Sometimes it's 4 years, 5 years, where every year you get the opportunity to buy some of the shares in the company at a discounted rate, right? So let me explain that. So let's say if the company's share is let's say it's a publicly traded company, and when you got employed, they told you that you were entitled to some kind of options. What that means is that at the end of every year, let's say they'll give you a 4-year kind of period to redeem 4 years that you 4 years that you can buy all those kind of options, right? So what happens is that at the end of every year, if the value of the stock is, let's say, $100 per share, they could say, because you're an employee, we're giving it at a discounted rate of $50 per share, right? So they give, or sometimes it could be heavily discounted. It could just, they will give it to you for $10 per share. So you take part of your salary and you buy the $10 per share. Maybe you're able to do that. You're able to buy maybe up to 2,000 shares. Then you use part of your money to do that. Once you do that and you are helping to build a company, as the company grows, your wealth begins to grow. And every year you begin to pile on and pile on and pile on and pile on. And at the point in time, you realize that that nest egg has become so big that you are now wealthy, right? So that is one one area. Another area of securing an ownership interest is just plain simple buying stock. You made your own money from whatever channel that you made it, and then you use some of it to go and buy stock on the stock exchange, like Warren Buffett has done for decades and decades, and he's one of the wealthiest people on earth. That is one strategy. That's you, and you have to be a little bit knowledgeable in trading equities or in trading stocks, being able to read financial statements, or at a most get somebody who is a financial planner who can help you do that. So if either you use the stock options route if you work for somebody, or you create a business that you own, or at least you own part of it, right? Then the other thing is you could also be a joint venture or a business partner with somebody else, right? So that person is coming up with the idea or has the skill. You don't have the idea and the skill, but you're going to support that person, and in doing so, you get cut a piece of the equity or a piece of the stock. That also will give you the opportunity to become wealthy. So look at a case in point. The first people or the first guys or girls who were part of, let's say, Facebook, all of them are super wealthy now, right? All the first guys who created PayPal, you know the story of Elon Musk. That is where Elon Musk made his seed money. His seed money made, I think, over $100 million when PayPal was sold, because he was part of the team that created PayPal. So when they sold PayPal to eBay for $1 billion and change, his portion was about, I think, about $180 and change, if I'm not mistaken. And that is the seed money he used to build Tesla, to build SpaceX, and all the other businesses that has turned into a multi-billionaire. Right. So these are some of the critical pathways that you could use to be on your journey on the pathway to financial wealth and freedom. All right. Thank you so much for watching. And if this video struck a nerve, it struck a chord with you, I would want you to subscribe to this channel. I would want you to hit the notification button, so that anytime I push out content like this, you'll be among the first to be notified of such great content. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.